Hello, this is Stan Houston once again for the Jesus Entrepreneur. And we decided to come back on a Monday because this is kind of the start of a new time. It's April 30th. That means tomorrow, May 1st, is May Day. That means that, at least in the northern hemisphere where I live, that it really is, winter is done and summer has begun. And that puts a new season, a new kind of feel to what you're doing. And that's good. So we can do a season start over. But we're going to talk about a little difficult subject, and I thought we just would start with this. I was talking with a fellow entrepreneur about some things that had recently gone with me, and he said, when entrepreneurs get together, they talk about two things. First of all, they love to talk about the good times, the real ecstasy, the things that, they went, the best of times. But inevitably, they also have to talk about the worst of times, the agony, the defeats, the things that have gone bad. And in doing so, I remembered a thing from a number of years ago when a wise Christian gentleman was talking to me as I was telling him about something that had happened to me on the mission field while I was doing international missionary radio work. And he said, as he put his wise old hand, as he put it, on my shoulder, he said, "Stan, please remember this. Everybody will disappoint you. Everybody but one will disappoint you. And sometimes you'll even wonder about that one." And then he said, "Stan, I'll probably disappoint you." I thought about that, and that reminded me to talk a little bit about disappointment, and then a subject which came to me. And I think in coming to me, I finally figured out one of the reasons that Jesus chose Judas for his team. For his entrepreneurial team, he chose Judas. Obviously, he must have known something about what would happen. But why did he do that? Why did Jesus choose Judas? I'd like to hear from you. But if you'll give me just a few minutes on this Monday evening, maybe Tuesday morning, May Day, can I just share some thoughts and things that have come to me about disappointment and why Jesus chose Judas? That's coming up. This is Radio on the Edge, and this is the Jesus Entrepreneur and the time of reflection. A few words of wisdom, hopefully, maybe insight and truth, and it's going to start right now. Well, there we go. That is our introductory news flash program beginning theme. And perhaps we need to change that again sometimes. How long should we keep the same musical introduction? I like that one. It seems to have the energy and the pop and the creativity I want. But should we change the theme? How often should we change the theme? When you're doing a radio or a television or a program series, how often should you change the logo, change the theme, change the design? Well, we'll have to think about that. Maybe we'll have to ask some experts about that. Yeah, some things happen that were not pleasant for me. That happens quite often. But the mark of the entrepreneur is how well do you keep on pressing on. St. Paul, one of the biblical entrepreneurs, forgetting what is behind, I press toward the mark. I keep pressing on. And that, as Churchill once said, I think, it's to go from failure to failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And most entrepreneurs have had deep disappointments. Most entrepreneurs have had significant failures. But they keep going. They keep trying. In fact, if you're not willing to fail, you will not ever perhaps really be in the true ranks of the true entrepreneurs. It just doesn't work that way. And then my wise old friend who said, "Hey, Stan, everybody will disappoint you in some way." And I think in many cases that is true. But there's a deeper part to it. Have you ever been really betrayed by somebody? Somebody you trusted, somebody you maybe was a partner, maybe a business partner, a good friend, maybe a spouse, a husband or a wife, a son or a daughter, brother or sister, mother or father. And what happened is that even though life and relationships can always go poorly and up and down, this person did an act of betrayal. They just hurt you, and they did something that hurts you badly, and perhaps left you scarred and jarred, and maybe ruined a whole lot of things in life. A betrayal, an act of betrayal. Now, how did you deal with that? How are you dealing with it now? Forgive and forget? Well, yeah, that's hard to do. Someone said, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. And some people will say, well, then you didn't really forgive them. And there are some people who will say, well, I'll try and forget, but I don't know if I can forgive them. I'll forgive them, but I won't forget it. You know how that goes. And as my friend reminded me, even when you try to forget it and forgive, the devil will come and remind you of that from time to time, place to place, space to space. Those are just things that kind of hang around, and oftentimes hang around for a long time. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me, radioedge77@gmail.com, radioedge77@gmail.com. Let me just frame what happened to me this way. I was going to do a program, and I knew this would get a reaction. And it was at the time that Billy Graham passed away. And you may remember the programs that he did on that. But one of the ideas I had with a little bit of an attention getter was this. What do you, me, Billy Graham, Jesus, and Donald Trump have in common? That was going to be the name of my program. Well, I knew that would get a rise and a response. And of course, the response I would get from a lot of people is, how dare you compare Donald Trump to Billy Graham, and how dare you compare Jesus to Donald Trump or anybody, and how dare you compare any of them to me or you? Who are you? Well, here's where it was going. Well, first of all, you, me, Billy Graham, Jesus, Donald Trump, we're all entrepreneurs. Very much so. That's true. That we have in common. But it's more than that. You see, there's no way I can match the achievements or maybe even the spiritual development of a Billy Graham. Obviously. What would Jesus do? There's no way I can be and do what Jesus would be and do. But you know, he somewhat disagreed with me on that. He said, you know, what I can do, what I can be, perhaps you can be. That's why I came. The point was that there's one thing we all have in common, is we are members of the fallen human race. Isn't it interesting that Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. Now, it's stronger and more than that. It's not that God is with us. God is among us. That's oftentimes the way it's interpreted, but what it really means is God became one of us. Think about that. Not just with us, not just among us, not running around us, not next to us. He said, I'm going to be one of you. Just like Donald Trump. Just like you, Stan Houston. Just like you, Billy Graham. And just like you, my friend, I'm going to become one of you. And I'm going to experience life just like you. I'm going to go through the best of times and the worst of times. I'm going to go through the agony and the ecstasy. I am going to be one of you. There's the deal. And so, Donald Trump, me, and Jesus have that in common. We're one of the kind. And I've oftentimes wondered, because one of the terms I use in my business coaching is what I call the Judas factor. The Judas factor. And here's what I mean by that. It has been my experience in working with particularly entrepreneurs and small business leaders and people that my friend was right. Everybody will disappoint you. It just seems to be the way it is. There are some that are few, but in some ways, nobody will fully live up to the expectations and the desires and wishes that you have for them and you and the relationship. There will be some disappointment. And we will experience some act of perhaps profound betrayal. Jesus must have known something about Judas. And yet he chose him. And yet Judas was part of the gang. He obviously wasn't in the inner three, but he was part of the 12. Not just part of the 70 or the 120 or the 3,000 later on after the Pentecost celebration. He was one of the 12. Why did Jesus do that? Well, let me just speculate on this one point. Could it be that he knew he wanted to experience the same thing, knew that he had to experience the same thing that you and I most likely and probably will and probably already have experienced? And so when I talk to the Master and we talk about what it was like, I may mention that very painful betrayal, that very hurtful betrayal that somebody I cared deeply about did to me. And Jesus can say, yeah, I know. Yeah, Stan, I know. It really hurts, doesn't it? To be betrayed really hurts. Yeah, I know. And finally, I will get it. I will say, yeah, you do know. You became one of us. And in becoming one of us, you can heal us and save us with God's almighty power. Thank you. And could it be, my friend, that's all I have to say, that's one of the reasons that you, entrepreneur, and me, entrepreneur, that's one of the reasons Jesus chose Judas. Just let that sit on your head for a while. I'll be back in just a moment. Hey, if I can help you, I would love. We are putting ourselves out there again to try and help you build a business, reach your goals, become one of the 3% who are goal-directed and goal-achieving, build a significant brand, particularly in the ICE age, the Internet-connected experience economy. And if we can help you build your business, I think we can. Reach out to me, particularly with a question, and we'll see what we can do. Once again, my name is Stan Houston. You can call me, 520-664-7002. I will answer. I guarantee it. 520-664-7002. If I can't, I'll call you back. Reach out to me at radioedge77@gmail.com, radioedge77@gmail.com, and stay tuned and stay in touch with the Christian Entrepreneur Network. We're going and growing. A brand new website is just about done, and we'll be delighted to show it to you. Again, best in blessings, and we all need the best in blessings, and bye for now.